everyone, and welcome to another episode of Murrow Minutes Goes Virtual for the spring 2021 semester. I'm your host, Mackenzie Johnson, and today we are talking all about the Murrow Symposium and how to best prepare you to attend a virtual event. So today we have some great guest speakers as well as current students to ask questions about what this event is going to look like. So without much further ado, as always, I want to go ahead and introduce our first guest speaker, Sarah Stout, who is our Assistant Dean of the Murrow College, to give a little bit of an overview about what the symposium is like. Sarah, I'll turn over to you.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Thanks everybody for being here today. Hello, Murrow Cougs and community members and hopefully future Murrow Cougs. We are very excited about the Murrow Symposium coming here in 2 weeks, March 30th and 31st. As you all know, it has been moved to a virtual event, and although most of us will be missing our live face-to-face event, I am very excited for what Corey and her team have put together for all of us. And it's just an exciting time to be part of the Murrow College. So I just wanted to say a couple things. I think it's important for everybody that's joining us for the Murrow Symposium to understand that it's going to look very different, it's going to feel very different, but it is going to provide additional opportunities like no other time for us to network in a different way, to learn and grow as future Murrow professionals. And it's going to be an exciting couple of days. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
Great. Thank you so much, Sarah. Like you said, it is going to look different, but we've put a lot of work in behind the scenes. Like Sarah said, Corey and her team have put in lots of work to make this a phenomenal event, and we're really looking forward to that. So to kind of get into moving into the professional development side of things for the Murrow Symposium, I know that a lot of our students have questions about what is it like to prepare for an event like this? What should what are some tips and tricks on the professional development side for a virtual event? So we're very lucky today to have with us our professional development coordinator for the Murrow College, Angela Schweigert. So Angela, I'll turn it over to you to talk a little bit about the professional development side.
Great. Thank you, Mackenzie. Well, I think it's really important to be prepared for this event. So I encourage you to research the agenda and look at the people that are going to be presenting, and also research a little bit about them so you know what they're going to be talking about, their background and experience. So when you do get to network professionally with them, you will be able to kind of have a conversation about, what they're doing, the challenges they may have during COVID and handling different situations in their profession, and just get some ideas of where they're coming from. I think that's really valuable. If you do share your resume with them or anything about yourself, I encourage you to be prepared. You can prepare a pitch about yourself, what you're interested in, also what direction you want to go with your career path. That can be valuable. Your resume, if you do prepare that, I encourage you to have it with your skills listed, what you want to be doing, your direction, the top 2 skills that LinkedIn professionals are talking about for this spring 2021 year are digital technology, as well as being resilient. And I think these are really valuable things you can share if you network with an employer through the virtual chat or Twitter or the other ways of doing it virtually.
Great. Thank you so much, Angela. Those are great tips for our students kind of going into the symposium this year. I definitely want to highlight taking a look at our presenters' backgrounds. I think a lot of our students, even in person, come to this symposium kind of not knowing anything about our speakers or our workshop presenters, when really they're big names in their fields. And it's important to know their background, maybe where they went to school, how they got to where they are. And like you said, that kind of gets your foot in the door to talking a little bit more about them and how you can follow in their footsteps. Another important thing that I would like to mention too is that I know Angela's really booked this close to this symposium, but if you're interested in going to her drop-in hours to get a few tips about resumes, LinkedIn, anything on that professional development side, she'd be happy to help you as we get closer to this professional development event. So with that, we've talked a lot about how to prepare for the symposium, that it's going to be a virtual event. It's going to look a little different. But now I kind of want to dive into what it's actually going to look like and how you can register and how you can get involved with our alumni, with our employers, and people that are going to be at the symposium. So again, we're very lucky to have with us today Corey Wilder, who's our Director of Marketing and Communications. The symposium is definitely her baby, and she has done so much work in getting this prepared for you guys and making it a wonderful event. So Corey, I do want to turn it over to you to talk a little bit about what it's going to look like this year.
Great, thank you so much, Mackenzie. Hello, everybody. I'm so glad I'm here to share this information with you today. I'm going to share my screen with you, and first I'll show you how to get to registration. I'll show you the registration page, and then I'll show you what the virtual environment looks like and where you can find all of that information about the speakers. Right now, you're seeing the Murrow College Murrow Symposium website. So if you start here, you'll be at murrow.wsu.edu/symposium. You can get a little bit of information here. And the most important piece of this website, the way I see it, is the registration button, which will take you directly to the link that is also on every social media post that encourages you to register. So when we click on the Register for Symposium page, we will get to the registration page for Symposium. Now you'll see it looks similar to other event platforms like Eventbrite and things like that. So it shouldn't be a complicated user experience for anybody. So what you're doing here is you're finding all the information that you need to get tickets, and you can click here to get your ticket. You can register up to 4 people. If you have a friend at another university or in another department, or if a parent or a sibling is interested in any of the panels, you're welcome to sign them up as well. What you do here is select the number of tickets, and then you go to checkout. And what we're going to ask you for here is your name, address, and email address, and then some other pieces of information. The reason why we need your address is because we are sending out handy dandy registration packets. So not only do you get tickets to the symposium, but you get a piece of mail to send directly to you, like through the post office. It's very exciting. And you'll receive invitations to things like the final happy hour at the Coug that we'll all be attending. You'll get some invitations to special events that are being put on by our sponsors and other information that's important. And in addition, you'll get some promotional items as well from Murrow College. So that's a lot of fun. And here we want to just get a general idea of the kinds of things you're interested in at the symposium. And then we're asking for your student status, just so we can keep track of who our students are. It's not that anybody is not allowed to register. We just want to know who is coming to the symposium and where they're coming from. So then you would go ahead and hit register. And after you register, give us all of your demographics, that you check the email that you used to register, and you'll receive a ticket. And you don't really need a ticket, but in there is the link to get to the virtual space, which is where you'll set up your profile. So here, when you sign in, you'll sign in with your email address, very straightforward, and you'll add your password, and then you're in. This is what Attendify looks like. There is a lot of opportunity for you to connect with other people in the community, as you can see here. And you can see, this is called the Town Hall, this homepage. And there's all kinds of activity already happening. This is really exciting. And you can add information, you can ask questions, you can talk to other people who are in the community as well. So for example, if Ben was available, Ben Pingle, who is a scholarly assistant professor on the Pullman campus, I'd be able to send him a private message if I'm interested in doing that. So I can click send a message, and when he's online, he will receive that message. Very simple. It's just like a social media environment. So I think that'll be pretty straightforward. So that's where you can just check out the community, send messages to individual people. And here you can see the full activity stream and share similar to Facebook. You can even post an emoji, you can add an image, and we encourage images and emojis. We like all of those things here in Attendify. It's important to share that you will not be face-to-face with anybody. This is a virtual platform, so people are seeing your profile picture and they are reading your bio, but they're not going to see you. So it's important that the photo that you select for your profile is one that you feel is telling the best story about you. So you want to make sure that's your professional headshot. Anything you would use on LinkedIn is perfect to use here. And make sure you add your work, where you are. If you're working and we're an intern somewhere, you can include that. Put your objective in if you have one. If you keep one in your resume, this is a good place to include that. Your location if you have a bio, and you can add contact information as well. And I encourage you to fill out your full profile so people can find you and connect. The last thing I'll show you is the speaker section. Now, all of our speakers, we have some incredible speakers this year, like Mackenzie was saying. People are coming from all over the world because this year nobody needed to fly to Pullman. So we were able to really open this up to a much broader community, and people who have never been able to join us before are here in the platform, and they will be conducting their sessions live. So here, for example, if you're interested in speaking to Jessie Kane, the Executive News Director at Carium 2, you can learn a little bit about that person and learn about the session that they will be in. Now, there is contact information that your speakers have included with their bios. I encourage you to use it to get in touch with speakers that you may be interested in. Link in with them. They've asked for us to encourage that. That's why they sent us that information to include in their bio. So that's a really important piece of the speaker section. And I was just mentioning the agenda, so it was my second to last thing. This is the last thing. We have a schedule, so you can just click around. You can't break anything, but it's you'll see, you can look at all of the sessions that are happening on Tuesday. You can take a look at who's going to be speaking and what they're speaking about and the time. And there's an inside chat for each session. And you can see each day has its own session. So I encourage you to take a look at all of the different areas of the virtual event platform. I think the best experience is if you're on a laptop or a desktop computer or a mobile tablet, but you can use your phone if that's where you're available from. Like I've been saying to the folks here in the meeting today, this is a pretty low pressure situation for you in that you don't need to dress up. You don't need to be sitting in front of your computer for 8 hours a day, and you're not going to be speaking face to face with anybody. Here's your chance to really create your own story and tell it in the activity stream. Share information about you, find people who are like-minded, and really get involved in online conversations in Attendify. And I think you'll be able to establish some relationships that'll last a lot longer than if you just shook hands face-to-face. So I think that's it. If I didn't miss anything, then I'll turn it back over to Mackenzie.
Wow, thank you so much, Corey. That was so helpful for our students to see how to register. It's very simple, couple clicks of a button. And I really like the Attendify platform. It's kind of like its own, like you said, social media environment where students can engage with employers and alumni and with each other. So I think that's a really great thing to start off before we even get to Symposium. Students can jump in and start interacting right now. So I encourage you all to do that and get prepared in that way. Besides the registration component, I do want to also highlight again that Angela is available for appointments if you want to prepare your LinkedIn, take a look at your resume, and kind of get all of that information prepared before you even jump into the Attendify piece. So thank you again so much for sharing, Corey. We really, really appreciate that perspective and kind of getting to see that firsthand from your side. So thank you. As we kind of conclude this episode, we do have a couple current Murrow students here with us, and I've asked them to just bring a couple questions that they have about the symposium. Like we said, this event is different. It's virtual. We haven't really done this before. We've certainly had virtual events and workshops and speakers in the past, but this level of virtual involvement with our employers and alumni is relatively new. So we know our students have questions about what that's going to look like. So I've asked a few of them to come and ask questions that hopefully our staff here can answer for them. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our students who are also Murrow ambassadors. We have Sherwin and Abby here with us today. So I'd like to turn it over to them to maybe ask a few questions that they might have about this event. So Sherwin, I'll turn it over to you first. Is there anything you'd like to ask our speakers today?
Yeah, so one thing I was just wondering was, how is the Murrow Symposium different from the WSU system-wide career fairs that happen?
That's a great question. Angela, did you want to jump in with that one?
I can answer that. Yeah, sure. So when the WSU had the Career Expo, a lot of those sessions were in person. So they had group and individual sessions, so you could meet individually with the employer. I know we're going to be having the virtual coaching a couple of weeks after the Murrow Symposium this year. So that will be a time when you will be able to get to interact in that realm with an individual coach. But yeah, that is a difference here. It's not, you're not interacting in that personal sense, but more online or virtually. So you're not having the face-to-face contact. That is a little bit different. However, I think this is really valuable to make those connections online. And like Corey said, they will last a long time. So I think that's a good plus for this event.
Thanks, Angela. That's a great point that you made about the virtual coaching happening following the symposium this year, which is very different than in the past, but we're really excited about that. I just wanted to add that through the virtual symposium, one thing that our students and community members that are attending really need to kind of understand and know is that virtual networking may look very, very different than the face-to-face opportunities that we've had in the past. But this is also helping you develop a new skill set, right? So developing a new skill set in the middle of a pandemic and following the pandemic is going to be really important because the skills that you have learned through this time will be used in the future. The industry and the folks out there that are hiring Moreau Cougs are going to continue using virtual ways of doing business. So it's really important as a student to understand that you may not be walking around the Beasley to talk to people at the career fair like you would have typically, or the expo. You're going to get to converse with them differently and connecting with them differently through LinkedIn and Twitter and the chat functions that Corey pointed out. So it's really an important characteristic of being a Moreau Coug is having the ability to adapt, right? So just knowing that it may look different and feel different, but it's also a very important skill set that you're learning.
One last thing related to Symposium and how it differs from the typical career fair that you see that's university-wide. The Moreau Symposium has concentrated speakers, panels, excuse me, and other events that are industry specific. So you really are going to go and learn about the industry. You're not just learning about employers, you're hearing about, you're getting examples of real world situations. You're getting to meet people who have been involved in news for their entire careers. One of our panels has a representative from every department in the newsroom, and they're going to have a conversation with you about how the newsroom works, you know, from A to Z. So that kind of thing is not what you get at a career fair. So I encourage you to jump in. Those panels are the places where you see the speakers and you can, on the virtual platform, ask questions. They'll answer them in the panel discussions. We also have a couple of speakers that are independent speakers that are sharing information about developing your career, about amplifying your voice as a public speaker, and other really important pieces of information that you'll be able to use and apply as you're working toward graduation.
Wow, great information from all of our speakers. I hope that answered your question, Sherwin. I actually get that question a lot. We have great resources both on the WSU campus and in the Moreau College. So I certainly encourage students to attend all of the career associated events. But like our speakers have said, this is tailored to our students. So super important that you attend, whether you're a first year or a senior student in our program. So really excited to see that engagement from all of our students today. Abby, I know you had a question that maybe you wanted to ask our speakers today. So do you want to jump in with one of your questions?
So since it's not going to be face-to-face, as you said, and it's virtual, if you have a question that you didn't get to ask during Symposium or you forgot about, what is your recommendation for approaching an employer or touching?
Great question, Abby. I think just to rephrase, I think you cut out a little bit there, but just to rephrase, if you weren't able to connect with someone during the actual symposium event, what is the recommendation about how to get in touch with them potentially after the event or follow up? So do our speakers want to add a little bit on that?
Just from the technical side of things, I would recommend going to the speaker's bio page, excuse me, and scrolling down. Most have their email addresses and their LinkedIn. Some even included a Twitter handle. Make sure that you take note of what those are, link in with them, and you can also prepare an email that's a sort of like a cold call and get in touch with them and let them know that you enjoyed hearing their talk at the symposium. They know that everybody volunteered to be here, so they'll be very pleased to hear back from anybody who's watched their panel, and just let them know that you're interested in asking a question and pose it. They will write back to you.
Great. Thank you so much for answering that, Corey. Really appreciate that. As usual in the Murrow College, if we provide you with someone's contact information, that means they've given us permission and want to hear from our Murrow students. So even if you weren't able to ask questions during the day, please reach out to the speakers during the day, that day and afterwards as well. They'd love to hear from you guys. Great question. Sherwin, did you have any other questions that you'd like to ask our panelists today?
Yes, so one thing I noticed where there were multiple sessions, some with the same timing. So if you wanted to go to those sessions, would it be recorded and available to us later?
Everything's going to be recorded and archived, yes. The other beautiful thing about the virtual platform and not having to be in person in the room this year is that if you really are interested in two and you want to check them out, so you could ask a question in both potentially, you can float from one stream to another. And it's not like somebody, it's not that situation where you're like, oh, I don't want to get up and go to another talk right now. I don't want to have the panelists see me. It's okay. This time you can kind of float around a little bit and do a little bit more exploration.
Great question, Sharon. And it's good to know that everything's going to be kind of archived for us to use later and for students to engage with in other classes and other components that we have in future events. So that was a great question. Thank you so much, Sherwin. Most importantly, I don't know if anyone's mentioned it in this video yet, but we do have Lester Holt receiving our Lifetime Achievement Award. So I encourage everyone in the community, everyone at Murrow to log in and watch that, both his keynote address, but also him receiving that award. It's going to be a really big event for Murrow that we've had to postpone a couple times. So we're really excited to finally get to do that this semester. I do want to say a big thank you to our speakers today. I do have a couple follow-up pieces before we close out our Murrow Minutes Biz virtual video today. The first thing that I want to really mention is that if you're a prospective student considering WSU, I'm going to have a couple of presentations throughout the symposium event as well, where you can come learn about the Murrow College. Even if you're an alumni or an employer, you're welcome to come learn about the opportunities that we're providing our students here in Murrow as well. So I encourage you to attend those sessions. They're at 3 p.m. each day. So you can jump in and learn a little bit about us, potentially win some giveaways as well. So we encourage you to jump in on that one if you can. Also, in addition to what Corey said in those mailing packages that you're receiving for registering for the symposium, one of the pieces that you'll be receiving is Flat Murrow. So I won't mention much else about that besides just to keep an eye out for some of the things that we'll be doing with Flat Murrow here in the next month or so. And again, how to win some awesome giveaways from the Murrow College. So be sure to check your mail for those registration packets, get involved with us on Attendify, and be sure to engage with all of the Murrow alumni and Cougs that you can on the platform. So if no one else has any other questions, I think that was a really great overview of our symposium event. I know that I'm really excited to attend here in a couple weeks. So if you do have questions, reach out to us and we'd be happy to help. Other than that, I think we'll close out our video today, as always, by saying stay safe, stay healthy, and go Cougs.